Team, specifically the financial team, have been fanning out at each stop in these three countries that we've gone to for various meetings. And President Trump is now saying the way he sees things, this trip has gone better than he expected, with $1.4 trillion over 10 years already added to everything else that they have managed to secure.
Fox's Peter Doocy in Abu Dhabi, the final planned stop. The U.S. still pushing for peace talks between Russia and Ukraine, but only lower-level delegations are in Turkey now after Russia's president did not answer the Ukraine leader's call to meet him there.
So the question really is now what's going to happen next? Europe and the U.S. are likely to push for a 30-day ceasefire, threaten Russia with more sanctions. But there's a widespread belief that Russia feels like it is winning on the battlefield despite the heavy toll. So it's going to be tough to get them to change their strategy now.
Fox's Steve Harrigan in Turkey, where any direct talks between Russia and Ukraine would be the first in more than 3 years. The president's executive order aimed at ending birthright citizenship for U.S.-born babies whose parents are in the U.S. illegally heads to the U.S. Supreme Court, which is also weighing arguments on the power of district judges to block orders nationwide.
A number of the justices asking about practical issues. Say they lift that nationwide injunction, say a judge can't do it. Well, then on day one, when babies start being born, do the ones in New Jersey get citizenship if they're here born to illegal parents and ones in Texas don't? I mean, there were just all kinds of practical questions. But Justice Alito kept bringing it back to the question before them, which is about whether a single federal judge, some 680 roughly of them, can shut down a policy nationwide.
Fox's Shannon Bream at the Supreme Court. An expedited ruling could come in days or weeks. A mixed finish on Wall Street. The Dow up 271 points at the bell. America is listening to Fox News.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation, an irregular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduced stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. It may increase your stroke risk. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding, unusual bruising, or tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. Medications such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
The man accused of killing 4 University of Idaho students goes back to court, with the judge setting a deadline next month for more information ahead of an August trial.
Brian Kohberger's defense is moving forward with their theory that there was an alternative killer. They claim they got a tip that it was someone else besides Brian Kohberger. The defense submitted sealed documents to support this claim, but Judge Stephen Hippler is asking for more information, issuing that June deadline. The judge also said he considers the 2 surviving roommates victims as well. One of them, Dylan Mortensen, says she saw the suspect in the house the night of the murders and identified him as having bushy eyebrows, a key physical trait of Kohberger. The judge says he's reserving 2 seats in the courtroom during the trial for those surviving roommates.
Fox's Matt Finn. The students were stabbed to death at an off-campus house in 2022. Cryptocurrency exchange Coinbase says criminals bribed customer service agents to hand over customer data and are now holding that data for ransom. The company says it won't pay, instead offering a reward to help catch the attackers. A young student in Pennsylvania is accused of handing out Jell-O shots to classmates.
The Greater Johnstown School District, about an hour east of Pittsburgh, says a kindergarten student at the elementary school gave out alcohol in the form of small Jell-O cups to 3 other students. The superintendent saying staff took immediate action once they found out. The kids were sent to the nurse's office for evaluation. EMS then took the kids to a local hospital where the district says their parents met them. It's not clear how the student got the boozy Jell-O cups, but the district says it's cooperating fully with local authorities, adding it is committed to transparency while describing it as an isolated incident. CJ Papa, Fox News.
Recapping Wall Street, the Dow up 271, the S&P also higher, up 24 points, but the Nasdaq finishes in the red, down 34. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News.
Well, again, everyone, let's check weather for Eastern Illinois. Champaign event Saturday. Going to be a pretty active spell of weather for the next 24 to 48 hours. A break over the weekend and more widespread rains expected next week as well, with a cool-off to follow. Up to 90 today, a windy, hot, and humid one. Partly sunny skies, a couple of showers and thunderstorms will break out for the afternoon. Could be some stronger storms from Champaign and northward late this afternoon and early this evening, then becoming fair in the overnight, low down to 63. Tomorrow, partly sunny, windy, warm, but lowering humidity in the afternoon. Still a couple of showers and thunderstorms may break out for the afternoon. Highs up to 87. That activity winds down early tomorrow night. Cooler with clearing skies late, low down to 57. Good looking weekend on tap. Sunny, windy, cooler for the day on Saturday. Highs up to 78. Partly cloudy and 77 on Sunday. Then another complex weather system out of the plains will generate some shower activity as the day wears on Monday at 73. Widespread showers and thunderstorms next Tuesday and Wednesday. Daytime temperatures in the 70s. Markedly cooler air arrives late next week. For Stevie J Broadcasting, I'm meteorologist Greg Solgay.
Hey, what's up? It's The Drive with Dan Piper, ESPN Radio 93.5. Derek Piper, Lante, Kyle Toss.
Morning.
Daniel Hertzong here as well. We got the PGA Championship going on as we speak. Place any bets?
No, I forgot. I literally, at like 11:30 at work, I typed in ESPN real quick to check what time the Cardinals, I don't know why I went there, but anyway, and it showed the PGA. I was like, oh, no. I forgot to make a wager. And my son, oldest, even texted me last night and said, here's who I'm riding with if you want to follow. And I'm like, yeah, I'll follow. And then I didn't. So. Now watch.
That's okay. The leader key today, so I think probably the obvious betting choices, maybe not in the best positions. All I checked right before the show, it looks like Scotty Scheffler, a pretty overwhelming favorite at plus 325 or something like that. So he must be off to a really good start. Rory was plus one at last I checked. Okay.
You almost can't even bet on Scheffler anymore, right? Because you're not going to win any money.
Exactly.
So it's amazing. I guess, we've got so much to talk about, so I'm not going down this real quick. Can you make a wager like at the start of the year? Let's say all four majors and parlay them?
I think you can, yeah.
Okay.
The winner of each of the majors.
Can you imagine how much, if you got all four right?
I have seen some big hits that people have had that include like to win the Super Bowl and the NCAA tournament, maybe throw the Masters winner in there as well.
I've always thought we should do that sometime.
Yeah.
Like in January, just sit down and figure out, all right, who's going to win the NHL playoffs or Stanley Cup? Who's going to win the NBA Finals? And just make, heck, you can do a $5 bet and win thousands.
Exactly.
So maybe we'll do that in January.
Now, we'd be more likely to get struck by lightning than to win one of those. But, then again.
Hey, I know a guy from Muhammad, Illinois that got struck twice.
Wow.
So he must be a good gambler.
Maybe.
I also took him deep in fast pitch softball. So that guy's had a rough life. He's a great guy, too. I won't say his name, but he's a wonderful man and good friend and a great guy. But, yeah, I mean, when you've been struck twice by lightning and Lante's taking you deep, you're probably you got some answers. You got some questions for the good Lord above.
You're complaining to God about Romo. He's complaining to God about you.
My ball hit the top of the fence and went over. That's how pathetic I was as a hitter.
Just taunting him right there.
But it went over, and Jeff Finke looked at me and said, the next time up, I must have singled. I don't know. And Jeff Finke looks at me and goes, man, you crushed that. And I was like, it literally hit the top of the fence, Jeff. But thank you.
Meanwhile, the wind was blowing in.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Finke's hitting him like 60 rows deep in the cornfield behind the Pasodum ballpark. And it's a short porch, mind you. All right, I'm shutting up. We got a lot to talk about.
Speaking of betting, you can always bet on if we're off the air, something's going to happen. So,
yes.
Right after Tuesday's show, Brad Underwood and Brett Bielema both got new contract extensions. We'll have to discuss that.
Did you guys like my text to you?
Which one was
my
that?
My paranoid text.
Oh yeah, I did. Yes. Sorry, we were off the air yesterday, so
I told Jeremy Werner
exactly
that
what you said.
I saw Werner yesterday. I'm like, yeah, I texted Pipes and Kyle, and he started laughing. I said I'm getting paranoid in my old age.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure that they're worried about us being on the air while that would happen. It's funny how that just coincides, though, doesn't it?
It always drops about.
There's a decent amount of happenings that, and usually like the Friday news dumps, wait for us to click off the mics and like, oh, there it is. That would have led our show, but no, we'll talk about it on Monday.
Matthew Meyer, we got him by like 10 minutes, right? That one dropped about 5:50.
I'm sure they figured they're not going to cut into Hans's farewell who you got, would they? So we'll just do this now. Nope, we would, and we did.
Poor Hans. Now that I look back.
I know.
We need to have a Hans Day in here again. Try it all over. Maybe. No, we don't.
And maybe just for fun, we'll get like Meyer on the phone.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Celebrity guest for who you got, Matthew Meyer.
And we just clip Hans' mic. That would be fantastic. Okay.
So there's that we'll talk about. Yesterday we were off the air. Cardinals had a doubleheader. Wild one last night. The Cardinals were able to get done in a slugfest there in Philadelphia. But there's new happenings on the assistant coaching front. Cameron Crocker from Colgate is going from that very successful low major program to Illinois, replacing the spot previously held by Tim Anderson. And we have an extended, it's not a new non-conference series for Illinois basketball, but an extended one. Illinois and Tennessee will continue to battle in basketball going forward. So where do you want to start? It's all basketball heavy.
I want to start with Caleb Williams ripping the Bears. Oh, wait, no, we'll hold on to that one. We'll hold on to that one. Sorry, I had to go there. And we do have the Bears release the schedule.
It's a tough schedule, man.
Did you see the Titans, by the way? And then I'm getting to basketball. Did you see the Titans?
I didn't.
They released it like a commercial that you see for like a pharmaceutical. And at the very end, it says side effects may, or what, you know how they say side effects, blah, blah, blah. And it starts going through like, it would show like the Vikings and say diarrhea. And then it showed like they play at Arizona this year and it said heat stroke. And they went through all of it. It's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
It is pretty good. So, and it talks about how, are you a Titans fan that's down right now because there's no football? And then it says, we've released the schedule Rizzy or whatever. And it's like schedule day. So you got to check it out if you haven't had a chance.
Teams have gotten really creative with their media.
Big time.
Their social media teams and creative. Like, there's a lot of talented people out there that put these together.
Big time. It's really cool. All right, back to basketball. Yes, a lot to talk about. Number one, on the extensions, it's incredible to think that Brad Underwood and Brett Bielema, and I know Shauna Green got a 2-year extension, which is very warranted, obviously, and earned. But to know that Bielema and especially Underwood, who is probably, 61? I think Brett, Coach Bielema's my age. He's like 54, 55.
55,
right?
Yep.
Okay, he's got me. Or I'm a little bit younger than him. That's good. So to kind of understand that both of those guys have a chance to retire as an Illinois coach, and especially Brad being 61, that he just signs, a 6-year deal, and then he's got a chance for 4 more. I'll let you explain it a little bit better, but essentially, he could be here for another 10 years, which would put him at 71 years old. And while we haven't captured, we is unprofessional, while Illinois hasn't captured a national championship, certainly there's been a lot of great things that Brad Underwood has done. Number one, more importantly, he brought the program back to where we expect it to be as fans. And, he's knocked on that doorstep a little bit with an Elite Eight. So who knows what could happen? Sometimes when you see coaches that have won national titles, you look back at how long they had been at a school, and it's like, okay, well, they had been there for 6 or 7 or 8 years before they knocked down that first national title, and some then went on to win 2. So maybe Brad Underwood, maybe that's in the cards for Illinois, but certainly with him in charge, it keeps you, I think, automatically almost in that tournament every year, and you got to be in it to win it. So I think that's huge news for Illinois.
Absolutely. Like you said, the framework of the contract, when you don't include the 1-year extensions built in, there are 4 of those run through 2031 and would make him 67 years old. 4 of those, if he earns all of them, they're incentive-based, but assuming that Illinois basketball is going to continue what they're doing, and that's really a big part of what Brad has built here is a very consistent program year in and year out. You expect them to be an NCAA tournament team, a big player in the Big Ten picture and relevant nationally, that he should earn those 1-year extensions, which would push all the way through 2035, making him 71 years old. You never know exactly when a certain guy's going to hang it up. Like Tom Izzo's 70 and still going with it.
I know.
So could Brad at that age still want to do it? But it would get into the twilight of his career, if not the very end of it, and put him in position to be able to retire at Illinois, which would be great. There's not many coaches that get to choose when they go out and how they go out, and especially as far as that goes. So, and you want to keep a guy if you got a good thing going, which Illinois does have that going. And Brad's name has come up, not necessarily like super seriously in terms of it being reported like, hey, Texas has named Brad or is behind the scenes made Brad their number one option, and they're pursuing him, and Illinois got to fight like hell to make sure that they're going to keep him. But he was somewhere on, at least in terms of rumors out there, that he was somewhere on Texas's list. It would make full sense, especially this most recent time. I know they hired Sean Miller, that Underwood would be on their call list, maybe even on their top 5 because of what he's done here. Kansas State tried to dabble with him a little bit and trying to get him back to his alma mater, and he shut that down a handful of years ago. So you want your coach to be wanted. I know that has then led into Illinois losing Kruger to the NBA and Self to Kansas, but I think that rewarding that, and I give Josh Whitman a ton of credit. I think he's been proactive in bumping Underwood up in terms of salary and giving him extensions, and he's just given him a lot in terms of the surrounding pieces of a assistant coaching pool that's very highly up there in the Big Ten and nationally in terms of what they're spending. And this has been a great situation for Brad, that he's obviously played a primary part in building, and he now gets to try to take that up another level, which could – I wrote about this in my column. I don't know if you got a chance to see it, but
I did, by the way.
Mr. Bo Ryan at Wisconsin, I made a parallel there. If you look at year 3 to year 8, which Brad just completed year 8 at Illinois, compared to Bo Ryan year 3 to year 8, they're very comparable in terms of averaging out around a 5 or a 6 seed in the tournament, being in the tournament every year, winning a couple Big Ten titles. I think if Brad goes – now, Bo had just a sensational finish to that tenure with back-to-back Final Fours in particular in his last 2 full seasons, that if Brad did anything of that level, he would be among – he would be with Lou Henson – as the best coaches ever at Illinois. I think if Brad ultimately gets to a Final Four and a handful of Sweet 16s, you could make an argument that he's the best coach Illinois has ever had.
Sure, I agree.
I know Bill Self, if you project it out,
right.
obviously in terms of he's a Hall of Famer, and so is Lou. No disrespect to him, obviously, but Brad's on a 5-year tournament run. Should have been 6.
Sure. With
the COVID year. The program record's 8, which was done twice, once in the 80s. Now that would have been longer if not for Dion and Pearl and the 1991 postseason ban, but that's a whole nother rabbit hole to go down. And then the early to mid 2000s. But Brad will be very much expected based on the standard that he set, based on the ability that Illinois has to build a very competitive roster year in and year out with the portal, with Europe being a big avenue for roster building, to set that mark himself and break it.
Sure.
I'd be surprised if he doesn't.
Well, and I think there should be some pressure on he and Brett, especially, to continue to win, because now you're being paid like some of the best coaches in the country. And I think that's something that, as an Illinois fan, should make you excited. Now, you have a hand in that by selling out State Farm Center, by almost selling out or getting tickets. I know tickets have been going really well for Illinois football next year at Memorial Stadium. I think that's going to be a harder task, as we've seen in the history of both those sports, for Brett Bielema. But certainly both of those guys are essentially making pretty solid money when it comes to the rest of their companion or their cohorts, if you will, that coach in both sports. I think a couple things that stand out for me about Brad. I know we're kind of focused on him right now. It seems like Brad in the last 2 or 3 years, he kind of started this, I think, with COVID, right, where he started walking all the time and lost some weight. And, I don't care who you are. If you exercise and if you especially lose weight, you're going to be happier. You're taking stress off with every step. You're a lot of things about, yesterday I had to park at Riggs, the bar, to walk to Stone Creek. That's how crowded it was. And, just that walk to the golf course, I was about done. I needed to just walk back to my truck and leave. But then I walked around and followed the guys around for about 2.5 hours. I walked more yesterday than I have probably in 5 years, not combined. But I woke up this morning wide awake, feeling great. And I'm like, it's not that hard, Lon. Exercise. I think Brad Underwood almost has a new lease on life since he's done this. And you see the energy that he has. And so you might say, he's 61. Is he slowing down? I don't think so. I think he's revving up as a coach. And I think it's great that he's doing this. And the other thing is, I just think he's competitive. And I think Brett Bielema's competitive. And I think these guys want to prove. I bet both of them would love to leave Illinois saying, I'm the best coach that's ever been there. And what a cool thing that would be, right? To say that. To say you're the best at what you did. And I think for Brad Underwood, I mean, him being able to get us in positions to get to the tournament every year. And then Derek, the last thing would be how he has basically not sulked like some have, including Tom Izzo, but he has taken what's happening right now in the sports world in college, and he's essentially said, all right, this is what it's going to be, so we're going to attack it. And have teams had better portal success? Yes. But certainly it's hard to argue with the success that Brad Underwood has had when it's come to the portal. And I think it's great that this university, with Josh Whitman in charge of the sports area, this university has given guys like Brad and Brett the ability, like you said, with assistant coaches. I mean, how big was that to grab Orlando Antigua, right? I mean, that's huge.
Yep.
And Josh has always said, you go, I understand it's not just me paying you $7 million, Brett, and then not giving you any money for assistants. You've got to deliver the whole package, and that's what they've done. And not only that, but how about the ones that are donating to the NIL and just making Illinois a top 10 to 15 program in the country in both sports, which theoretically is right now. I think both would be top 15 in the country right now. Is that sustainable? I don't know, but certainly hiring or extending both of those guys makes that sustainability possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's certainly well put. I think from the basketball side, and I want to get more into Bielema as well, but as far as the competitive nature of the salary, I know that Brad on USA Today this past year, I have a list of coaches, his average salary was or his total compensation from this past year was $4.8 million.
Okay.
It's been reported that it's going to start at 4.4 for this extension, but it will be built in where starting in the summer of 26, he'll get 1 year retention bonuses. This one will be north of $1 million. So if you put him, let's just do that math and put him at $4.5 million. I know math on the fly on the air
it's scary,
getting me in trouble here recently, but that would put him top 10 in the country.
Really,
as far it would be right. Scott Drew is also at 5.4 this past year. Rick Barnes 5.8, Bruce Pearl 5.9. So only guys ahead of him in the Big Ten would be Tom Izzo 6.2 at Michigan State, Mick Cronin at 6.1, and you're talking Matt Painter sitting there at 4.8 as well. So
wow,
third highest paid guy in the Big Ten. And really over this last 5 or 6 year run, the only school in the Big Ten that's had it better is Purdue.
Purdue, there's no doubt.
And I think if you include the new additions, you could make an argument for Mick Cronin as well. If you're talking coaches' success over that time period, Cronin's also gone to a Final Four, 3 Sweet 16s in 5 years.
Wow.
Same thing for Painter, Final Four, 3 Sweet 16s in 5 years. Brad is still missing adding more to that resume. I mean, the Elite Eight is a huge feather in the cap, and you're not going to discount the Big Ten titles, and it should be an S at the end of the regular season one. More than one. It should be 2, but it is officially 1. So I think going forward, you want to see him, Sweet 16 should be more of a familiar sight for Illinois basketball, and it can be. Like, there's nobody that would sit here based on where they're at, like you said, with NIL, just his ability to – his adaptability has been incredible.
It really has.
In terms of what he's done with his rosters, where to find talent, where to go. He loses all of his assistants one off season. He's able to restock that collection and be able to just move on business as usual.
That's a great point. I'd forgotten that.
Iowa and Kofi cycle out of the program, 2 All-Americans that you put their jerseys in the rafters, and they bring on Terrence Shannon and Marcus Damask, and they have Coleman Hawkins, and they go to the Elite Eight and have the best season best postseason result that they've had to date. So we had Joe Hendrickson on earlier this week, and I think not that Brad would do this. Obviously, like you said, great point that he is that competitive. And I wrote about this too, that the early challenges that he faced at Illinois, and we could dive in a little bit of that. Like it took a real fighter to be able to navigate through the turbulence that was here. I think you expected if you're going to try to turn around Illinois, it's going to be a tough job.
Sure.
But some of the stuff that came along with it, Mark Smith and that whole thing, the IO and THT thing, the internal review that I think a lot of people forgot, me included. I kind of put that out of my mind that, he was under an internal investigation. Not that it was, it was serious. I shouldn't downplay it. Like, they were looking into things that were alleged about him for mistreatment that, later they said there was no findings of wrongdoing. But that was all really boiling the water on him pretty early.
Yeah.
And that's important that he was able to navigate his way through. But back to the Hendrickson point, it would be easy for someone to sit here and say, look how bad the state's been. How am I supposed to, at Illinois, where the history says, go back through, I did this recently. I didn't even include this in my article. Go back through all the other teams that have gone to the Elite Eight. I think 4 of the 5 starters in all of those, at least,
were from Illinois.
Wow. So when you sit there, you could put your hands, the state's not good. How am I supposed to be at the top level? Now, obviously, when you factor in donors are shelling out the money to go get players, like that wouldn't fly. Eventually, you got to get it done. But Brad obviously has had that working even before this is opened up in terms of the avenue.
Great stuff with everything you just said. The one thing I thought about when you mentioned that about Sweet 16s, and I wanted to bring Kyle into this to get his thought now that he's like right in the middle of it at Illinois. But I think the expectation moving forward after everything he's been through and after what he's been able to kind of adapt to with the game, I think the expectation should be Sweet 16 every year. Sweet 16 or better or bust. Because really, I think that's, as you mentioned, that's where you are as a program when it comes to NIL. I understand the revenue sharing will come along and that kind of, now you go down another path, right, that we're still trying to understand as well. But I just truly think that if Illinois doesn't make Sweet 16s, and I know it's not easy, it's not just automatic every year you're going to make a Sweet 16, but more than not, 3 out of 4 years maybe, 2 out of 4 at least, a Sweet 16 should be expected out of this program. And if not, then I think he's not doing his job. It's that simple. And maybe that's too harsh. But certainly you've got all the ability now to build a program that can get to the Sweet 16. And you are now a coach that is well thought of, and you're known throughout. I mean, I'm guessing most every recruit would know who Brad Underwood is as Illinois' coach. So I just think that could be something that should be expected. Kyle, do you disagree or agree with that? Is that am I expecting too much with Sweet 16 there? That's only 2 wins. Don't get me going on that area.
No, I totally agree with that. I think what comes with an extension like this to me is now a raised expectation to where Brad Underwood's been rewarded for getting the program back to a consistent, stable place and the success that he's had. But now with this extension, the fact that now you're in the top 10 in college basketball and the fact that you've now been rewarded for as long as you want to stay at Illinois with that stability contract-wise, now I think people are going to want you to reach that next level. The one thing that he hasn't done, which is the consistent tournament success, which, let's face it, that's how you're judged as a program
unfortunately,
in college basketball. So I agree with you. I think Sweet 16, especially with the resources and the way that Brad Underwood has navigated the portal and NIL and the talent he's brought in, I think Illinois should have a Sweet 16 caliber roster, at least a roster with the ceiling of the Sweet 16 every season. And then I think you also are hoping that at some point during the length of this extension, you reach that mountaintop again of a Final Four. You have maybe 1 or 2 really special seasons with that consistent baseline of make the tournament. And if we don't get to the second weekend, we might view it as a little bit of a disappointing season.
Agree. Well said.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
We're going the Balkan route to see if that'll get us to the Final Four, right? Derek, real quick before you – I was thinking about this yesterday with so many Illinois fans out at this golf, and I started thinking about, football tickets are up, as they should be, and basketball, of course, always sells out. Do you think that still does that have anything to do with recruiting? Like, does a recruit sit there and say, like, does Brad Underwood say, you're going to be playing in front of a packed house every time you play a game at home? Or is it just all money now?
It's icing on the cake, in my opinion.
I
think we heard a guy like Andrej Stojakovic. You get guys from the mid-major level, like Marcus Damas, going from, no disrespect, obviously, to the Missouri Valley.
Don't you
I'm not doing that.
my dogs.
But it is as you know,
Yeah, they
bigger
get
arenas.
7,000,
You're
yeah.
on national TV pretty much
Absolutely.
every game, unless are we counting Peacock national TV? Probably not. But anyways, there's no doubt that level of exposure is really important. I think a lot of guys, especially those that are thinking about the next level, want to be seen on a regular basis nationally by evaluators, by the national media, that whole thing. But there's something special about walking into 16,000 strong and knowing that's a big time environment. It's one of the best in college basketball that you can get to. So, and you do it in the Big Ten on a semi-regular basis. You go to the best places. You go to the Izzone, you go to Mackey, and on down the line, and that's what you want. So, I think it's really interesting. We could spend even more than probably a full segment on, is Sweet 16 every year a fair expectation? I think we'd understand that you're going to be subject to an upset every once in a while.
There's no doubt.
The best of the best coaches do lose early. I was just pulling Bill Self. Bill Self, of course, won a title in 22. Since then, round 2, round 1 exit. So that can happen. Scott Drew has been very similar since winning a title at Baylor. I don't even know if he's gotten the second weekend since then. So
I didn't realize
there are still some really accomplished coaches that struggle to do it, not even maybe year in and year out, but more often than not. I do think it's fair, though, to expect – use Purdue as an example.
Mm-hmm.
Illinois and Purdue should be on similar planes in terms of success and expectation, and they've been, over the last 5 years, 3 of the 5 to the Sweet 16 and did make it to the Final Four of the national championship game. I think if you're going to – I spoke to Bo Ryan. If you're going to like the Mr. Consistency of the current era, it's Kelvin Sampson. Kelvin Sampson has been to 6 straight Sweet 16s and multiple Final Fours during that recent window here for him. Rick Barnes, who you're about to play again, has been to back-to-back Elite Eights and 3 straight Sweet 16s. So those programs, which you're not going to, Tennessee is in just a different world of us. I know that
Not at all.
Houston is
right
obviously
now,
at the top of the mountain or close. But I think that over a 6-year period, if 3 Sweet 16s, maybe even 4, and maybe one of those turns into the elusive Final Four, I think that honestly would give Underwood the argument against Henson of being like, I'm the most accomplished coach that's ever been here.
That'd be incredible.
And I think it'd be a very good argument. So I think that's a very reasonable.
And both coaches brought a program back.
True.
And that's probably their best asset. I mean, through all of it, how hard that probably is. It's one thing when you are winning at an elite level, able to pay players as much as most universities, and you're bringing in talent year after year. When you are at the bottom, like Illinois was essentially with the end of Gross era, et cetera. I mean, maybe not the bottom, but certainly nowhere near what Illinois expects.
No. You were playing in the Wednesday games of the Big Ten tournament.
Exactly.
You were eye-to-eye with Rutgers at a time when being eye-to-eye with Rutgers was not good. Same with Minnesota. You were down in the bottom quarter of the Big Ten pretty regularly.
It's just hard to believe. That's hard to believe. I've been on this earth for 54 years, let's say 44 as a pretty ardent Illinois basketball fan. It's weird to think there's that little slice in the middle. Not in the middle, closer to the – well, hopefully if I live to where I want to live, it'll be in the middle. But there's that little slice of like, we were terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how many selection Sundays did we go where it was like, we're not going to be in this? 6, right?
There was 6 straight, yes.
That's disgusting.
And I know the streak was 7 straight years, but there was no Selection Sunday, unfortunately, in 2020, and you would have been in it, obviously. So
exactly.
6 straight Selection Sundays where you didn't hear your name and knew it wasn't going to be it there during that stretch. To kind of, I know we're maybe leading into the next segment, but to use that as a comparison across the street of Kirby there, the pie is inverse. Like the slices that are small are the windows of success of Illinois football, and the fact that you have had such an extensive track record over decades now, really since for my lifetime. I'm 34 years old, and I know the 90s, the very early 90s were good extension from a great run of the 80s for Illini football. But for the most part, you've been bad, and you've been expected to be bad year in and year out. And now for Bielema to win 8 games, win 10 games, and will be expected to have a really, really good season again this year, speaks to what he's done from a resurgence standpoint, and really maybe just we all hope changing what's year in and year out expected for Illinois football.
Amen.
And the fact that he has that on the table means he's deserving and then some for this extension for him.
Last thing, and then a break. If you want it, we don't have to listen to Kyle.
He's getting out of here anyway for the summer.
Yeah, right. Think about how many times the over-under Illinois wins was like 4.5.
Yep.
Yesterday, I don't know why I'm doing this. Yesterday, Lucas sends me a text with because he can wager on Illinois, of course, out in Arizona. He's like, what do you think, Dad? Should we throw 100 each down on this? The over-under is 7.5. And I'm like, the fact that I think 7.5 is absolutely disrespectful to Illinois shows you the gains that Brett Bielema and this program have made the last few years. It's not 4.5 anymore. It's now 7.5, and I'm sitting there going, well, they should win 9 minimum.
Yeah.
That's the amazing thing.
We called them like 8-win Iowa, and you always would die to be that. And
Amen.
Now that's kind of in the realm where you're at. Like the Vegas number's 8 wins, and we're like, that's low.
That seems low, Vegas. You obviously don't know what you're doing out there.
Surely not. They did have to pay out Illinois fans a couple years in a row
yes,
for
they did.
over 4.5.
I love it. I know a lot of people are wanting to know about this new assistant coach.
Yep, we'll fill you in.
Mike Hagan's got
next.
a great one in there about what kind of a quality he can bring to the staff. So we'll throw that out when we come back.
Get to your thoughts when we return. 217-359-2255. You want to weigh in on the Max Twin City Recycling text line. We'll talk about the new assistant coach for Brad Underwood & Company, Illinois and Tennessee extending their non-conference series, and more on the extension talks for both Brad Underwood and Brett Bielema. Next, it is The Drive.
Racing, racing, racing! Farmer City Raceway is your local award-winning dirt track with exciting Friday night lights illuminating the late models and modifieds going for the checkered flag for the win. Make arrangements to get in on the camping with great price points for pit passes and young fans, as well as veterans. Friday nights, the hot laps start at 6:30, then qualifying and racing action. Don't miss out on the fun at Farmer City Raceway. For details, visit farmercityracing.com. You'll buy the whole seat, but you only need the edge.
Ready to level up your career and score a big prize? Express Employment Professionals is hiring. Interview with them for any of their open positions, and you'll have a chance to win a 55-inch Vizio 4K TV. But wait, there's more. Refer a skilled trades friend to them and earn $200 once they work 40 hours. Apply now by visiting expresspros.com/champagneil or call 217-355-8500.
Hark, there be a barge of overseas appliances, overpriced tariff-laden goods. Unload quick! We don't have any other choice but to pay the high prices.
Sure we do.
Well, if my eyes don't deceive me, it be Paul Rican from Dick Van Dyke Appliance World. What speak ye about saving money?
At Dick Van Dyke Appliance World, you don't need to worry about overpriced tariff goods. We are stocked with pre-tariff inventory.
You don't need me overpriced appliances from overseas?
Nope, we're good. We even have Speed Queen in stock made right here in the good old Midwest.
You want none of it?
We have 2 warehouses full of pre-tariff inventory and a service department to repair your existing appliance if you want to save even more money instead of buying new.
Well, I'll be. Can I interest ye in me lobster bisque?
Well, it is 9 a.m.
You got to try me lobster bisque.
Okay, all right, I'll get some to go. Take credit card?
With a 5% service charge and sign here for a minimum 30% tip.
Wow. When you buy from us, you get the whole store.
Kelsey Furniture in downtown Tuscola sells Tempur-Pedic beds. What's it like?
I'm going to tell you right now, Stevie, that thing is the best thing I've ever slept on in my life. My wife and I both have said we've never had better night's sleep. And the people at Kelsey's were fantastic. Brian is the guy that helped us. You know, as much as I did my research, he has a world of knowledge about beds themselves. Oh, man, it's like sleeping on a cloud, man.
Kelsey Furniture, downtown Tuscola. From computer systems to brakes and tires too, at PDR, fixing cars is what they do. Remember, when you turn the key and the car won't run, call 367-9481 or use their dedicated text-only line at 383-0619. Additional information including repair quotes and online scheduling requests available from the website at pdrauto.com. Remember, they are what's best for your truck or car. They are PDR.
At ABC Heating and Air, it's our promise to help you always be comfortable. Do you need rescued because you're burning hot? Do you need rescued because your air is shot? Call ABC Heating and Air at 352-5400 and let us rescue you from the heat. ABC Heating and Air, 352-5400. Can't you see you need to call me at ABC? Call ABC Heating and Air. That's ABC Heating and Air, 352-5400.
Hey, all you backyard chefs and grill gurus, barbecue season is here, and I know that you're anxious to fire up that smoker or grill, but your yard needs mowed. Yes, your wife is getting hangry, but that grass isn't going to cut itself. What's an aspiring pitmaster going to do? Get the world's fastest mower, of course, a Dixie Chopper from Dedicated Diesel in Urbana. They carry a full line of Dixie choppers from the Z2 and Magnum residential models up to the big Excalibur and classic commercial machines that can mow nearly 8 acres an hour. This is award-winning competition pitmaster Tim Onstott, and whether I'm cooking low and slow or hot and fast, I always have time to savor the flavor because my mowing time is cut down by Dixie Chopper, the world's fastest mower. Get your Dixie Chopper at Champaign-Urbana's only dealer, Dedicated Diesel, at 1313 Triumph Drive in Urbana, 217-328-0562.
It seems like the cost of everything is on the rise, but Erie Insurance can help make sure your auto insurance premium isn't one of them. Avoid rate increases with Erie Rate Lock. Even if you have a claim, your rates won't go up until you change your car, driver, or address.
Your Erie agent in Champaign is Thomas & Ellers Insurance.
Erie Rate Lock is not available in all states. Other conditions and limitations at erieinsurance.com. Go to erieinsurance.com for company licensure and product details.
Back on the drive with Dan Piper, ESPN Radio 93.5. Did get a text in. Scotty Scheffler, -2.
Okay.
He's finished up for the day. -5 is the current lead at the PGA Championship out in Charlotte, North Carolina.
That's cool, man. I've been working so hard today, I haven't been able to look at it.
I'm sure.
That's my voice of when I'm lying, basically.
Yeah.
Although I haven't had a chance. I am recording it. I'm going to watch some of it tonight. No Cardinals game tonight.
And we're actually disappointed about it.
Right. 11 of 12, one game out. Those Marlins, who obviously could rule the NL West, came into Wrigley and won, what, 2 of 3?
No, the Cubs stole one on Tuesday to get the series on Justin Turner's walk-off.
Okay. Oh, that's right. That's right. I thought the Marlins beat you twice.
They looked like they were about to. They were 2 outs away.
Isn't that funny, though? I mean, it's just like, wait a minute. Didn't you win the series against the Dodgers?
Mm-hmm.
And then the Marlins come in and give you all sorts of battles. It's just, baseball's an interesting thing.
It's a funny sport.
Cubs aren't playing very well right now, so the Cardinals have a chance. Although it is Cubs-White Sox this weekend at Wrigley. So it's a good time to not be playing well.
Yeah. You guys have faced the Rockies once already, haven't you?
Not yet.
Oh, not yet. You've got them coming up
in like a week and a half.
Oh, my gosh. Okay.
Playing down to the competition.
Yep.
Which Illinois will not be playing down to when they meet up with Tennessee. John Rothstein reported that the series goes on. They played a home-and-home in Knoxville 2 years ago. Champaign last year. Tennessee got them both times. Unfortunately, this past one was pretty painful. Buzzer beater by Jordan Gainey to go end-to-end, full-court drive to be able to put that in before the buzzer. Highly competitive game. But now they will meet up in Nashville.
That's cool.
Coming up this season, Bridgestone Arena, where the Predators play. In December, early December will be the date for that one. Illinois will play Alabama at the United Center early in the non-con slate. And then obviously we still, beyond that, a lot of details to be ironed out. But Missouri will be, hey, what do you know? Brad Underwood says, bring on the old SEC again.
Let's go.
4 of them on last year's non-con slate. And actually 5 if you include the exhibition game with Ole Miss. And then, speaking of the UC, Illinois and Tennessee will play at a later date at the United Center as well.
So funny to me, Kyle, it continues. Whenever they do these home and homes or even kind of home and home with Nashville and Chicago. Illinois always goes there first. Whether it's football, whether it's basketball. I don't understand how that always works out. It doesn't matter, but it's just kind of funny how that works. If you routinely can go to a bar and spend $30 in beer, you better take $400 for your night in Nashville. I'm just throwing that out. In case you haven't been, it gets a little pricey for the old Busch Light bottles. I actually am not a big fan of this Tennessee thing. And don't get me wrong, I'm a fan of playing great teams, really good teams. And Tennessee, while maybe not great, they're a really good team. I kind of enjoy the spiciness of playing a team twice and then moving on to another series, right? Like with another team for 2. I don't know that I'm like 100% all in with playing Tennessee another 2 years. But both programs are playing really well, so it's certainly a nice test for Illinois. And to go down to Nashville, I mean, how can you not? Why would you not want to go to Nashville? I'm dogging you, Nashville, but it's a great city. So I don't know. Am I way off base there? I kind of enjoy the playing Alabama twice, playing Tennessee twice, and then playing like Texas Tech twice or Arizona twice or something. Am I being pathetic?
No, I get that. I get the newness, the new excitement of a matchup to dive into that would be – and to be honest with you, I think from the way – we've talked about it before, Illinois' schedule is shaping up that previously Bama was the big marquee matchup in the non-conference. That's going to be a semi-neutral. I mean, if you live in the area and you want to get up to the United Center, that's not hard to do. You're going to have a ton of Illini fans from that area up in the Chicagoland that haven't seen a game at the United Center in a long time. And we'll see if that can bring the spice back to that game and something you want to do more regularly. And now maybe that falls in line, this type of move to do the same thing with Tennessee. Or you're going to go Alabama at the United Center, maybe even next year Tennessee at the United Center to get that moving forward as something that's regular on your schedule.
There's pretty good recruits, right, that are sophomores, juniors?
Yeah, a lot of them leaving the state, though.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I even brought that up.
Just had Davion Thompson. He's going to go to Missouri Link Academy. And then today, I think it was Devin Cleveland announced from Kenwood, going to go to La Lumiere in Indiana.
Okay.
So,
all right, so never mind.
Yeah, that's been a trend. Speaking, Joe hit on that. And
yep, he did.
It's even taken a step forward since we last talked to him. So, but in terms of Tennessee, I think from Brad's standpoint, number one, he seems to be really good friends with Rick Barnes and has a lot of respect for what he's done through the years. And Tennessee, in terms of the top 10, 15 programs in the country, they're one of the most consistent year in and year out, a top 10 to 15 team.
No doubt.
And, I spoke to their postseason success, but they are routinely a top 3, top 4 seed in the NCAA tournament. Playing them, you're going to have a quad 1 opportunity that'll look really good on the resume if you beat them.
That's a great point.
I think that is something that you can bank on. I think they're 2 attractive destination spots, even for the opposing fan bases. Like for Illinois fans, come down to Nashville and watch a game. For Tennessee fans, go up to Chicago and watch a game. Like,
great point.
That makes a lot of sense. And maybe I'm not going to call it a rivalry, but it could be extending this out to 4 times in 4 years, potentially playing each other. Maybe there's something that brews a little bit between the orange wearing
we owe 'em.
fans. So yeah, you owe them for sure. So, but yeah, I would love to see. We've talked through the years about what's the non-conference matchup that you'd love. Kansas, we're still waiting on. I'd love to see St. John's. Brad loves going to MSG, and why not go out there?
That was good.
Yeah. So I get this is not like blowing you away, but I understand why Brad's doing it.
I don't mean to bring the poo-poo to it. That's because this is a great non-con 2 games. There's no doubt. Kyle, as a student, would you have rather seen maybe another program that you're playing, or are you okay with Tennessee again for the next 2?
I tend to agree with you. I'd rather see somebody new, but I think Tennessee is a good test for Illinois, especially if you assume, I know they lost a lot from last year, but I think a team like Tennessee would actually be a really good team for this roster to see.
Yeah.
because you know they're going to be really good defensively. You know they're one of those physical, beat you up, athletic teams that, let's face it, if there's one question about this Illinois offense,
no doubt,
which I think is going to be really good, it's teams like that, the Houstons, the Tennessees of the world. How can they handle that once you get out of the Big Ten, where I don't think you're going to see a team that has anything, that plays anything like the style of a Rick Barnes Tennessee team. So I think from that sense, for this team, seeing Tennessee is a good challenge and a good opponent. But like St. John's gives you similar stuff. I would like to see that series instead. I also, as a student going into my senior year, although of course they probably would have gone to Knoxville again, but I'm saying I would have rather seen on campus because
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, the United Center thing here and there is good, but if we're going to move away from on-campus home and homes to start doing the United Center / Nashville and Birmingham every year, count me out for that.
Okay. Now, the United Center thing was really awesome for a while. I mean, really awesome. And it gave you that idea of where you're showing your talent in Chicago to those recruits. Now, everything has changed, like you just talked about, how those recruits now go and play at different places. But it really had a real nice run. And then it just dwindled quick when you're losing to UIC.
And New Mexico State.
And New Mexico State. And it went from the time when you were playing Arizona and Duke and you were getting the best of the best to come to Chicago to play you.
Gonzaga was coming through.
Gonzaga, that's right. And then everything just kind of stopped. And it was made perfect sense to stop the UC. So I don't know if maybe they hope that gets a run again. And maybe this is kind of the start of something like that with Alabama, then Tennessee, and trying to get that run going back in the Windy City. But certainly it had a great thing. But like you're saying, Colin, I agree. I mean, if you're a student especially, it's just so much easier to go State Farm Center and watch the game.
In the Big Ten home slate, we've been over this, not to beat a dead horse, isn't that awesome?
No.
Michigan's going to be insane in terms of the environment. Indiana's coming to town. You get a couple of good matchups, but I think it would make sense. And from the not even just the fan interest, if you're a coaching staff, you want quad one opportunities at home.
Amen.
Like, that's a great time to take advantage of your environment and be able to beat really good teams that look good on your resume and have your home fan base behind you. I know we could go down the rabbit hole of that's been a struggle for Illinois through the years, and we've been over that, but I think that'd be one thing as you see this coming together, that if Brad could pull this off. I don't think Brad's done in terms of hunting another big non-conference matchup. If you look last year, they played, again, 4 SEC teams, Bama and Birmingham, Arkansas and Kansas City, Tennessee at home, and Missouri. Like, I could see him trying to look for another one, but it'd be great selfishly if you're Illinois and for Kyle's interest and fans' interest to get one in Champaign. I don't know that it will happen that way, but they had the number 4 strength of schedule in the country last year, and they had a really young team. I get why they wanted to test them, but also this is an older team now, and they'd be even less afraid to do it this season than last season.
Agree. Yeah, and I don't know. It would be interesting to kind of speculate who that, if you were going to add one more, in the sense that you have Alabama, Tennessee, and Missouri now, even if it's not just a SEC team, if you were going to speculate, I know you wrote the other day about Kansas. Let's get that rolling. But let's say it's not Kansas. Who would be maybe a nice, I was about ready to say like UCLA, but it's like, well, wait, they're already in the conference. Who would be a nice, like Kyle, I'll go to you. Who would be a nice pickup for your senior year where you maybe flip the tide and play the first year here at State Farm Center, and maybe Illinois now is in position to do that with those 2 games being on the road, meaning road being Chicago with Alabama and then, of course, in Nashville. Is there a program that you would love to see come to Champaign? And maybe the Carolinas, the Dukes, maybe they don't do that. Maybe they would rather do what you're doing in terms of the United Center and stuff like that. So maybe a program that you see that would come to State Farm Center, Illinois then return the favor. But is there one that kind of sticks out to you?
Yeah, me and Pipes did this as part of our next question like a week ago, and I said my top 2, one was Kansas. I think we need to make that happen. The other one I said was UConn.
Oh,
let's get Dan Hurley to Champaign.
Holy smoke.
Let's do it. I mean, that's a team that has been near the top. Let's go right to the top.
Let's go.
That's kind of how I feel. Like, get one of those big brands of the sport in here. And like you said, I don't necessarily know if a Duke and even North Carolina now, I brought that one up too. I don't know if they're like a high-profile enough game next year to even do. But I like the St. John's idea a lot, but UConn would be my other one that I'd love to have cool. Dan Hurley come to town, the 2-time champs, and that's a team that's preseason top 5 next year.
That'd be cool. I'd love to see Arizona State, not just because my son went there. I've always kind of liked Arizona State in general, and it would be cool, I think, to play. I don't know how. I mean, their basketball has not been the best of late, but I think that'd be a cool home and home. And I'm sure the Illinois guys in a couple of years wouldn't mind going to Tempe for a game at Arizona State. I mean, that's always kind of a fun visit.
No doubt.
So, yeah, I think Arizona State would be that team for me. How about you, Pipes?
I got St. John's really high.
Yeah.
And if you want to get Rick Pitino and company in Champaign this year and then Madison Square Garden the following year.
Oh, that'd be perfect.
We know that Brad loves going to the Garden whenever he can. So maybe just wait 1 year. All right, New York City, not this year, Brad. Sorry, but one more. You bring Pitino here in his white suit. He's going to wear the white suit on the road.
Ooh.
Maybe he would, maybe he wouldn't. And then ultimately get out there. I think another one that would be regional, and it wouldn't be as sexy, but I think it'd be a good one. You have an affinity for this program, and actually Andrew just texted in on the Max Twin City Recycling text line. Creighton.
Oh, yeah. I love watching them play.
I think you bring Greg McDermott down, and
I feel like
not a lot of travel.
I feel like McDermott and Underwood could be long-lost brothers. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they're both kind of built the same way, and they both kind of have the headstrong. They kind of have that same mentality. They both run.
They love offense.
They love offense. They both run good programs. I mean, now that Kalkbrenner's gone and all that.
Yeah, and they got Josh Dix and Owen Freeman.
Amen. I think I'm glad you brought them up. I think that would be a perfect next year and then go back to Omaha in 2 years. I think that would be perfect. And I would think Brad and McDermott could make that happen. That's a great call.
I like that one.
Great call.
I know 217 said UConn game at MSG, return game in Chicago. Jay said, let's play Kentucky.
That's another one. I mean,
why not?
I mean, with Antigua, I mean, you kind of have a little bit of a built-in rivalry kind of thought process there, if you will. Yeah, I mean, Kentucky would always be. That would always be a good one to play.
I don't know how many tickets their fans would get, but they would have a couple of Big Blue Nation shirts on press row. So,
hey, guys, I'm sorry. This is the media entrance. Right.
We know.
That's exactly what we're here to do. Hey, real quick, because I know Chris Block is coming up to talk hockey. I don't think we're going to talk hockey with Chris. We're going to talk horse racing. There's an issue going on with horse racing now, like with regards to not seeing a Triple Crown anymore. Can you touch real quick on the Colgate, on the new assistant?
Yes.
And then we'll get into it more, but I know a few people have asked.
Yeah, it's my fault. I didn't get there sooner.
Yeah.
Cameron Crocker is coming from Colgate. He's a young up-and-coming coach, 33 years old, known well for his player development skills. He was a guard out of the West Coast who played at Penn. He was there from, I think it was
smart fella.
Oh, yeah. If you're going to go to Ivy League school, and I believe he graduated 2014, 2015, was a team captain on that squad. Ended up, after that, coaching in the Northeast at a prep school, also did some work. Paul Pierce's AAU team that played in the EYBL, he worked with them as an assistant coach as well. After that, ended up at Stanford as the director of player development for a handful of years, worked with a couple McDonald's All-Americans and Zaire Williams, who ended up being a lottery pick in 2021, Harrison Ingram, who transferred from Stanford to North Carolina before then being a second-round pick. So he's worked with some NBA-level guys, then going to Colgate, where they've been just a winning machine.
Yes.
And they went to, in his 3 years there, 2 NCAA tournaments, set a school record 2 years ago with 26 wins in a season. So coming from a really good program, I think, again, the biggest thing that I can grab onto, I think, is that you lose Tim Anderson, who was really renowned for his work individually with workouts and growing guys' games and player development. So you get some of that. I'm not saying he's going to be Tim. He's a lot younger and not as established as far as the resume, but they think he's a really bright young coach who can learn from a recruiting standpoint from O and Jeff, and try to tap into some of his connections on the West Coast, which he does have.
Awesome.
And then, to work with guys as far as the player development goes.
And a little younger. I think that means something.
Yeah.
Closer kind of, if you will, to the player's age.
Yeah, doesn't hurt.
So I'm sure that they'll probably enjoy. Mike wanted to know if he's coming here for inbound plays.
I don't think so.
Okay. Can you do a full breakdown on Inquirer?
You want me to ask him?
Yeah, just flat out.
His favorite.
First question, I need 5 inbound
What's
plays.
your favorite inbounds plays?
Right.
And can you draw them up right now? Gotcha. I can get that done.
Brad's driving home again going, man, they just keep dogging me. Congrats, Brad, on your extension.
No doubt. All right, due for a break.
Horse
Chris Block
racing.
coming up, talk some horse racing. If you got questions about Cam Crocker, the new assistant that is expected, he hasn't been announced by the program, but I reported yesterday that he is expected to be the choice and pretty confident in where that's going to go. Feel free to weigh in, 217-359-2255, Max Twin City Recycling text line. We'll be back. This is The Drive.
You're listening to WSJK ESPN 93.5 Tuscola, Champaign-Urbana, your home for the St. Louis Cardinals.
All of the lower court judges so far who've ruled on this executive order have ruled against the Trump administration. Well, Justice Jackson then picked up this issue about how this works for whether everybody out there seeking protection from a possible, policy of this administration has to get their own ruling, or whether there can be these things like nationwide injunctions that protect everybody who potentially is impacted by the policy.
Fox's Shannon Bream at the Supreme Court. Some justices also raising concern about some babies having citizenship and some not, depending on which state they're born in, if nationwide injunctions are not allowed while the case plays out. President Trump says his trip to the Middle East has been amazing, winding down now with a final planned stop in the United Arab Emirates. The U.S. is still pushing for talks between Ukraine and Russia in Turkey after President Putin did not travel there to meet with Ukraine's leader. Florida becomes the second state after Utah to ban fluoride in drinking water.
We certainly now in our society in 2025, we have the ability to deliver fluoride through toothpaste and mouth and all these other things. You don't got to force it and take away people's choices.
Governor Ron DeSantis signing a bill that prohibits local governments from adding fluoride to their water systems. America is listening to Fox News.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation, an irregular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduced stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. It may increase your stroke risk. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding, unusual bruising, or tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. Medications such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
Time's running out for the National Mediation Board to help New Jersey Transit avoid a strike by railroad engineers who haven't had a raise since before the pandemic.
NJ Transit has a tentative deal with its bus drivers. The board has already approved over $3 billion for new locomotives and rail cars to avert frequent breakdowns. Engineers voted down the last offer in March. They want parity with Amtrak and New York railroads. A strike would cut rail service to 20%, sending some 200,000 riders onto the roads.
Fox's Therese Crowley, there's a midnight deadline. R&B singer Cassie spends a third day on the witness stand at the sex trafficking trial of ex-boyfriend Sean Diddy Combs, this time spending hours under cross-examination, at times forced to read sexually explicit text messages the two exchanged out loud for the jury. Defense lawyers argue all sexual acts were consensual. Federal prosecutors Prosecutors say Combs used his influence in the music industry and drugs to force encounters. Singer Chris Brown taken into custody in Britain.
Chris Brown was arrested Thursday outside Manchester's Lowry Hotel, accused of attacking music producer Abe Dial with a bottle at Tape nightclub in London back in February of 2023. According to The Sun, Brown was held on suspicion of causing grievous bodily harm. Dial claims Brown struck him over the head multiple times with a bottle of Don Julio 1942, then punched and kicked him, leaving him hospitalized. Last October, Dial sued Brown over a previous alleged assault. This is the latest in a series of troubles for Brown, who pleaded guilty to felony assault in 2009 after attacking then-girlfriend Rihanna and had a 5-year restraining order issued against him in 2017 by ex-girlfriend Karrueche Tran. Michelle Polino, Fox News.
Wholesale inflation, the producer price index falling in April, down 0.5%, but another mixed finish on Wall Street. The Dow up 271, the NASDAQ down 34 points. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News.
Hello again, everyone. Let's check weather for East Central Illinois, Champaign and vicinity. First in a series of strengthening Plain States weather systems will come our way in the coming days with increased rainfall prospects and probably some stronger and severe storms later this afternoon and evening time from Champaign on northward in particular. Apart from that, turning windy, hot, more humid, partly sunny skies, so scattered showers and thunderstorms breaking out this afternoon, and best coverages towards evening time. Again, maybe some stronger storms in some areas north of Champaign. Highs near 90 today and a strengthening south-southwesterly wind. Becoming fair in the overnight tonight. Evening showers and thunderstorms will wind on down. Lows down to 63. Partly sunny, windy, warm for the day tomorrow. But a drop in humidity. Still a couple of showers and thunderstorms for the afternoon and evening. 87 tomorrow. We'll clear it off tomorrow night late with a low down to 57. Good looking weather for the weekend. Sunshine and about 70 on Saturday. 77 on Sunday. More rain back in later Monday at 73. In the 70s with additional showers and thunderstorms Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. For Stevie J Broadcasting, I'm meteorologist Greg Solke.
It is The Drive with Sam Piper, ESPN Radio 93.5. Enjoyed discussing all that we had to catch up on in the first hour. Illini men's basketball, a lot of storylines with Brad Underwood's extension, Illinois-Tennessee series, new assistant coach, Brett Bielema, by the way, getting in on the action with the extension as well. So
didn't even get to Caleb Williams hating Chicago.
You really want to get there, don't you?
I want to navigate to that at some point.
We will. But before we do that, let's talk some horse racing. Chris Block, good buddy, joining us on the Tapman's Towing phone line. Chris Block Racing Stables. Chris, how you doing, man? Thanks for joining us.
Good, Derek Lon. Doing well. How are you guys today?
Great.
Doing great. I want to get into, I know that Lon has informed you on where he wants to go in terms of the Triple Crown and its future in the sport of horse racing. But before we get there, we talked to you before the Kentucky Derby. Sovereignty.
Chris Block about ready to be arrested.
Uh-oh.
Breaking news.
Sorry.
Do you need to go?
Just a Scotty Scheffler situation.
Oh, that's terrible. Sorry, both.
Sovereignty with the win in the Derby. Journalism comes in second. What'd you think of that race, the way that it shook out there in Churchill Downs?
Well, I thought the best two horses were 1-2. And, in the conditions of the racetrack were really, really poor with it being so wet. And it almost, I think a couple of trainers said it was almost kind of like sticky wet, if you will. It's kind of in the drying out mode a little bit, but still pretty wet. And I've been across that track when it's been wet and then starts the drying out process. And it can be a tough track to navigate when it's like that. But journalism and Sovereignty and took all the kickback from that slop and hitting them in the face, and they ran right through it and showed up to be the best two horses and made it a really good race in the 8th hole home. And I think they gave the world something to really cherish. There's a Derby that I thought the best two horses on paper stepped forward and ran their races and went right to the wire together. So Sovereignty is a really, really good horse. And I think journalism is a really, really good horse, and journalism has chosen to attack the Preakness, and Sovereignty's going to take a pass and wait for the Belmont.
Which I want to bring up later. But the race that Sovereignty won, and now I'm forgetting now the jockey, that rode him to the win. But what did
Junior Alvarado?
Yeah, right, exactly. What did you think of that race? Because he really held back, and then boom, attacked.
Yeah, so that's that horse's style.
Okay.
He likes to come out, get settled into a stride. I think when we talked the day before the Derby, I think I brought up the point that his 2 races in Florida were over a racetrack that's configured, Gulfstream Park, that's not really fitting to Sovereignty's style. Gulfstream is more of a speed-favoring track, got a shorter stretch run. Churchill's got a very long stretch run, a quarter of a mile, allows Sovereignty to get his momentum going forward, and if there's no traffic in front of him, allows his big, long, loping stride to get in gear, and once his momentum gets going, he just gets stronger as the race goes on, and that's what was evident down the stretch. He and journalism hooked up, but Sovereignty was really in stride, and was just the best horse on 2 weeks ago.
Chris, we'll get into the decision that these trainers have, and as far as the horses go, and going back to back essentially with the Derby and the Preakness. Journalism is, like you mentioned, going to run, and I think Sandman's another one that we saw in that field of the Derby as well. What do you make of this Preakness field before we get into maybe how it impacts what we've come to know with the Triple Crown and the future of the sport? But what do you think of this race before we dive a little bit deeper on that subject?
Sure. So journalism is the standout. He's on paper. He's consistently coming back with the same kind of race he runs prior to that, maybe even a little better. I think I've mentioned where I rely on the buyer number, which is a figure that's factored into all the aspects of the race, and the higher the number, the better the race. And he's now consistently staying in over 100. He was at 102 for the San Antonio Derby. He equaled that in the Derby. There's no horse that gets close to 100. Well, there's a couple horses that get close to 100, but they can't get over that. And so journalism gets to that number. And I think that you have to put a lot of stock into his connections and letting the public know that this horse is ready to come back and fire another big race, because we're talking about the 2-week turnaround here from the Derby to the Preakness, which can be controversial. But Mike McCarthy is an outstanding horseman. If I had horses and I was an owner and was in California, he'd be my guy to go to. And he knows his horse, and he would not chance running this guy back on a short rest if he thought he was vulnerable. So I think he thinks even if he doesn't run quite his best race, because he is coming back off 2 weeks rest, he still thinks he's good enough to outdo these horses. There is only Sandman back in there, and I believe the horse of Wayne Lucas's that are coming back out of the Derby, but they're really not, in my opinion, the caliber of journalism. And I think that any of the newcomers that are coming on there, so there's a couple new fresh faces, even those horses don't look like, if journalism runs back to his number, which would be around 100, I still believe he's the best horse.
Talking horse racing with Chris Block, he's the best doing it. You mentioned Duane Lucas. American Promise is that horse, and it faded in the Derby. There's even a thing I'm looking at right here, Chris, and this will lead into the question I want to ask. It says, quote, "It's mind-boggling to think that the 89-year-old trainer, Wayne Lucas, is taking aim at back-to-back Preakness wins, and the idea is the 2-week stretch in between." Now, this only became a problem when, and you just mentioned how it's controversial a little bit with it being only, maybe controversy wasn't the word you used, but only being 2 weeks after the Derby, that they then go out and race these horses again so hard. So what has changed to where 5 years ago and beyond, and before that, you always looked forward to the Preakness because you thought we could have a Triple Crown winner? Now it's almost given that the Derby winner will not race in the Preakness. Therefore, you just won't get Triple Crown winners anymore. What is your thinking on that? And it can be against the idea of, I want him to race because I want to see a Triple Crown. I mean, you're a trainer. You know these horses better. Does it all come down to the type of horse you have, or is it smart in your mind to definitely not race a horse like that 2 weeks later?
Well, I think you're going to get varying opinions from what I call some of the best horsemen in the country. So if you talk to Bob Baffert, if you talk to Wayne Lucas, they don't have any problem with the turnaround of 2 weeks as long as their horse comes out of the previous race in good order. So in other words, if they're eating well, if they're training well, and their energy levels there, they don't think that 2 week turnaround is a problem one time, and that would be from the Derby to the Preakness. If you try to do that on a more consistent basis, that will catch up to the horse at some point.
Sure.
So they look at it as a chance to have a chance at okay, so you win the Derby, now you're going to shoot for the Triple Crown. Let's go try to win the Preakness, and we think our horse is doing well enough that he can come out and run. Maybe not his top race, because we had him ready for his top race in the Derby, but we're facing a whole new group of horses, which is probably not quite as talented as the group that we met in the Derby. It's a shorter field and a chance to take the second jewel of the Triple Crown. So then there's also horsemen like Bill Mott, the trainer of Sovereignty. Bill is a very conservative individual, Hall of Fame trainer. In my opinion, the best trainer in the country. He's a really, really solid horseman, and he knows his horses. He knows what's best for the horse going forward. That, I don't believe you could talk to Bill and Bill would tell you, oh, no, Sovereignty came out of the race tired. He didn't come out. He's not eating well. I think Bill would tell you he's ticking all those boxes, but Bill's just not comfortable with the turnaround, and he's looking at the long-term picture of Sovereignty through the rest of the year. Their goal, when I'm talking about I'm talking about Bill Mott and Godolphin, the owners of Sovereignty, is to make him Horse of the Year. Okay, so in order to get there, they can do that by trying to win the Triple Crown.
Sure.
Okay, and then if he won the Triple Crown, he probably would be Horse of the Year. But they can also go about it in a different way, winning the Derby, winning the Travers at Saratoga in August, which is what they call the Mid-America Classic, or Midsummer Classic, okay? And then the Breeders' Cup. If he can tag those three, that's absolutely got him as Horse of the Year.
Got it.
Not only does that make him Horse of the Year, that also increases his stallion value when he retires and goes to stud, because most likely, in the way this world works right now in the world of horse racing and breeding, he would be retired after his 3-year-old season and gone to stud. So I think they believe that they can go that route and to try to achieve that, their goal to getting that. Also, what plays into their decision, and they're probably not vocally saying this, okay, but that the Belmont this year, as it was last year, is going to be run at Saratoga. And therefore, the configuration of Saratoga's track does not allow for them to run 1.5 miles around 2 turns like you can at Belmont. They'd have to start on the backstretch, and it's going to be tight to go to that first turn to go around the 3 times or go around 3 turns, and therefore it's not safe enough to do that. So what they've done is they've backed it up to 1.25 miles. So if they win the Preakness and they win the Belmont, is he really a true Triple Crown winner because he didn't take on that 1.5 mile distance in the Belmont, okay, as previous Triple Crown winners have? Will he have that asterisk next to his name? Okay, that was he really a true Triple Crown winner? Because the 1.5 miles is what's the true test of the 3-year-old off of 3 weeks rest between the Preakness and the Belmont. And I think that played into it, is not so much for Bill Mott, but for Godolphin's thinking going forward to make this horse a stallion.
That's interesting. I'd never heard that angle before. And it's funny, Chris, to someone like me, I guess you could put an asterisk, but I wouldn't even understand the asterisk without you explaining it to me. I'd be like, well, why is there an asterisk? Was he on steroids? Or I mean, I would just be like, he won a Triple Crown. What do we? But that's. Right. I'll let you go, Derek. But that's I did not know that part of it. That's interesting.
Chris, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Yeah, so the breeders in the industry will know that. Okay,
right.
And so when he goes to Stallion, they're going to say, well, okay, he's a really good horse, but was he really in the history of the Triple Crown? It's got such history that they're going to look at it and say, well, Justify and American Pharoah, they went the right route, okay? And because Belmont is under construction right now, they had to move it to Saratoga. So I think that Godolphin looks at it to say, well, let's go to the Travers, which is the Midsummer Classic, and he'll face all the top 3-year-olds there. Let's win that. Let's win the Belmont, then win the Travers, and then the Breeders' Cup, and that gets to our goal. We're here. We don't have to run him back on 2 weeks rest to get to that route.
Makes sense.
Chris, does the tradition of what the Triple Crown is as far as a challenge, with that turnaround, with the marker in terms of how long the race is, does that put the Preakness in a spot where moving doesn't accomplish the goal, where then everybody's going to question what the true Triple Crown is versus what it used to be? Like, is that even an option at that point, even though the field maybe would be, a couple you would know better than me what a regional schedule would look like in terms of more horses, trainers saying yes to stack up the field, but if it's then really kind of taking away the legitimacy of a Triple Crown, is that not possible to get done?
Yeah, from my standpoint, if you change the Triple Crown in any way, that takes away the history of it and the legitimacy of it.
Okay.
And because it's for as long as horse racing's been around, that's what the Triple Crown's been. That's been the tall task for a 3-year-old. If they can accomplish that, then they're crowned a Triple Crown winner. So, and I know that possibly this is something going to be looked at in the future. And I suppose once you have it, if you did change it, after so much time, people would probably just automatically think, okay, now this is what the Triple Crown is now, and they'll look at the past history of it being that time period, and now we're going forward with this time period. But I think that I think a lot of horsemen, even Bill Mott would say to you, I don't think you need to change a Triple Crown. Just allow the choices of the horsemen to make the right choice in the interest of the connections and the horse. And I think you'll see horses in the future that win the Derby try to get to the Triple Crown. But I really think that a lot is playing in to the fact that the Belmont is at 1.25 miles this year and not 1.5 miles. And they probably look at that as saying, well, we'll go a different route to accomplish our goal.
I want to ask you about a long shot because that's how I bet, Chris. I only throw a couple 100,000 on a long shot. You know that, Chris. You know that.
I know that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Chris and I've known each other a long time. He knows the cash I come from. Yeah, right. So my question is, how much of a tussle is this in the trainer room? Does that make sense when I say room? All the trainers.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Is it 50-50 that say that's crazy, you shouldn't try to race a horse 2 weeks later, and obviously, okay, like if you took out the fact that it's at Saratoga, if you put me back to where it's a regular Triple Crown again, is it 50-50 among trainers, or is it just what's the talk in the stables about stuff like that?
From my standpoint, I would say it's more 70-30 in favor of keeping it the way it is, and not a problem to run a horse back in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Also a big factor in this is horse safety. Horse racing's been under the microscope for the last probably really strong for the last 5 years. So much that they formed a task force and the Horse Racing Integrity Authority, where we're under major scrutiny for the safety of these horses, and that's fine. I have no problem with that.
Sure.
So I think that a lot of this talk of moving the Triple Crown into a different format and giving it more time is played into that as well. That they're looking at it from the safety standpoint of the horses. That if you run them back in 2 weeks, you're risking an injury or their safety. And I think they want to make sure that the public understands that horse racing had an image problem, and we're trying to fix it. And we want to think that possibly people looking at this as a horse running back in 2 weeks after just running the Derby, now the Preakness, is too quick back. So I think that's playing into a lot of the thought process and the people out there that are talking about it. But in my personal opinion, and I think a lot of the top horsemen in the country, you got to rely on the trainer and the people that work for that trainer that know their horse and know that they're not going to put that horse in any risk of any injury or think that something's going to happen out there. They know their horses. They know whether they can run back in 2 weeks, and I think they should leave it at that and let it be horsemanship more than anything.
Well said. I thought of one more before I get to the long shot. The jockey, again, now I've forgotten his name again, that rode to the Derby. He was fined.
Junior Alvarado.
Yeah, he was fined excessively, right?
Correct.
Explain that a little bit. You can only do that, 6 times during a race?
Yes. Yeah, so that's another part of HISA, which is the Horse Racing Integrity and Safety Act. They have a rule now for jockeys that from the top of the stretch to the wire, they're only allowed 6 strikes. So 6 strikes would be where you actually reach back and hit the horse on the hindquarters with the stick. It doesn't include taking the stick and showing it to the horse and trying to make him understand that he needs to stay straighter or trying to just get more out of him. So Junior, in trying to win the Kentucky Derby, I think went a strike or two too far and got fined for it. My personal opinion, I think it's ridiculous. I think that if he was doing this on a constant basis throughout his riding on other days, that's different. But he's trying to win the biggest race in the world on an afternoon where the horse is giving it all he's got, and they've made the whip or the crop, if you will, much more different now. It just has a foam ending to it. It doesn't have a leather strap on it, so when the horse is hit, it's a stick with a piece of foam on the end of it.
Got it.
So I think that was I understand that there's rules. But I think that was something that was excessively looked at and should not have been something that he should have been under the microscope for. And of course, when something like that happens, the press pounces on it, then other people, the public, sees that and says, "Well, look, they're abusing their horses."
The horse. Yeah.
That's not the case at all.
So, Chris, I needed that rule in the '70s with Jan Tay because it seemed like she had no problem whipping my butt back in the 70s. Pat's probably doing the same, back in the day.
Yeah.
All right. How about the long shot? Is it Pay Billy? I mean, he's a 20-1. What's the horse you think that Derek and I can make a little cash on?
Sure. So there's a horse coming from the 8-hole, Clever Again, trained by Steve Asmussen. Now this is he's an interesting prospect here. He's run only 3 times, and he's coming into the race off of a win at Oaklawn Park. And what I think is interesting here is that his rider is Jose Ortiz, who's one of the best jockeys in the country. He rode Sandman in the Derby. Now, Clever Again didn't run in the Derby, but I think he probably had his choice if Sandman was going to run back in the Preakness, that he could ride him or run back in the Preakness, that he could have that mount on Sandman. He chose Clever Again. I think Clever Again will be prominently placed early, probably right behind Bob Baffert's horse, who comes from the rail on the inside, and probably in a stalking position. Now, here's a horse that has hit the 100 mark on the Beyer, which I talked about. He did in his last start. Now, it wasn't a very deep field. It was only 6 horses, but he's obviously got a ton of class already showing and a lot of ability. So I think that you got to look at him as a possible, if journalism doesn't show up, as a possible horse to upset journalism. Also, a horse that I think will have trouble with the distance, but will be right in the mix of things down that stretch, is a horse named River Tame, the 6 horse trained by Todd Fletcher. I've watched all his races. He tries extremely hard. He's a gritty horse. And at Gulfstream Park in the Fountain of Youth back in March, he was only beaten a neck to Sovereignty, who, of course, was a Kentucky Derby winner. So he's obviously got a lot of talent, and I think that the distance may be a problem for him. His pedigree doesn't suggest that he'll get a mile and 3/16, but I think he'll overcome that to a certain point in the race because of his determination and his ability. But that last 16th of a mile, journalism, if he's coming, I think he'll overtake River Tame. So those 2 horses are horses that are coming into the race fresh. They didn't run in the Derby, and if there's anybody that could knock off journalism, it might be one of those 2.
Awesome.
Great stuff. Chris Block Racing Stable. We appreciate your insight as always, and we'll appreciate your advice if number 6 or number 8 comes through. Maybe we'll send you a Venmo or something.
Sounds great, guys.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. Enjoyed it so much. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, buddy.
You having me on.
Great stuff. Great stuff.
Chris Block on the Tapman's Towing phone line.
I could do that every day. And I'm not even that big of a horse racing fan. I could just listen to him explain horse racing. I've often thought, I'm being serious here. I've often thought of doing a podcast with Chris on just horse racing. And I wonder, I have no idea if that would be something that could drive financial success. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there is a big, as you know, huge, whatever you'd call that, of horse racing fans, horse racing trainers and such. I just think
Chris, seeing you guys on TVG before too long.
Let's go. Is that on Peacock?
No, TVG is his own channel.
Oh, it's his own channel.
Yeah.
You're not up at 2 a.m. watching horse races at night, are you?
I am. I am that guy. No, I'm just kidding.
Cade, go to bed. Come on, Johnson. Down the stretch. That's interesting with the jockey getting, I still don't know his name. Getting fined for.
Yeah, Daniel hit you with a foam stick every time you forget his name.
Oh. It doesn't sound like it hurt that bad, would it? Like
compared to what? Not when you say foam, no.
Right, compared to what they used to be. So yeah, but it's amazing. It just kind of stinks to me. I just was looking. The Preakness first held in 1873. I mean, it stinks to me that we won't even have a chance at a Triple Crown this year. And again, I am a very novice horse racing fan, but I'm a sports fan in general, and I love things like hitting for the cycle, winning the Triple Crown. Those two things are so far apart from each other, I understand, but you get what I'm saying. You just love the storylines behind sports in general, and to just not even have the chance at winning a Triple Crown because the horse isn't even racing in the second leg, it just kind of stinks a little bit as a fan.
Well, maybe you're not like a golf fan, but you appreciated Rory going for the Triple Crown and
absolutely
in golf, essentially, right?
Absolutely. I cried.
You did.
Remember?
I do remember.
I am a golf fan.
Me and Kyle cried too, but that was because we had Bryson.
Well, he really that was a bad day 4 for him.
Yeah.
Not a closer.
Apparently not.
That would make sense with Kyle, that he would bet on someone that is not a closer.
Oh, wow. Oh, boy.
I think I need the.
I
think I need it. I think I got it. I think I earned it.
Reluctantly.
Yes!
That was actually a pretty good one.
Woo! That felt good. That just felt good.
For you, maybe.
It should.
Sorry, Kyle. Man, that's like he's going to be gone for the whole summer, and the lasting memory is me just getting the
jab
button
in there.
Yeah, with a jab. Oh man, I'm sorry.
That's all right. He'll get up. He'll get up from that.
I'm getting text from the DMV. What is
He might jab you back, but you might not be here tomorrow when it happens.
Yeah,
probably.
Well, I was going to say, it's not going to be fair. And it's supposed to kind of rain, though, isn't it? I may not.
Okay. All right.
Looks like I've got another toll that needs to be paid. Are you getting these?
Well, some of those are scams. I was at.
That's exactly.
Yeah, I went to the DMV to renew my license recently, and they were talking to somebody like, "Yeah, you got to watch out for those toll texts and stuff." That they said a lot of them are scams.
There's I haven't been through a toll in upwards of 3 years because I quit flying out of Chicago.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't. Yeah.
There's a toll on 150.
Yeah, man. I didn't know
going right by the Andersons.
Philo.
You didn't see it?
Going from Philo to Tolono, I didn't know there was that built-in toll right there in the middle. Yeah, that's Don't click on those people.
Nope.
You don't owe a toll. Of course, there's probably one person out there that does owe, and they're like, "Well, Lon mentioned not to."
Yeah, they get it in the mail. You got $1,000 in fines. Good thing I bet on Clever again. 5-1. Pay some of it.
Down the stretch they come.
All right, we're due for a break. We'll be back. Talk Caleb Williams? Yeah, sure. All right, fine. It is the drive.
Hi, this is Pam Moore with Philo Exchange Bank. Whether you want to do your banking online or you prefer face-to-face interaction with our friendly staff, Philo Exchange Bank delivers banking that helps you reach your personal or business goals. To us, you're not just another face, you're a part of our family. Visit us at any one of our locations in Philo, St. Joseph, Allerton, or Broadlands, and we'll be here to help.
Philo Exchange Bank, hometown community banking since 1883. Member FDIC.
Tim Culver, owner and president of Classic Plumbing and Air.
A plumber is a person that is well-rounded. They have education, they have experience, and they are versed in more than only one phase of plumbing. A plumber is someone that has experience in all three phases, and they understand how all three of these plumbing aspects work together as well.
Was in the heating and air conditioning business for approximately 30 years and then retired in 2021. So I came out of retirement because I'm very big on taking care of our local community. The most satisfying part of my job is when I know that I've done the right thing for the customer, taking care of the customer's happy, and when I walk out the door that I'm not afraid to put a sign out in front of their house that says, "This job was done by Chuck Thompson, Classic Plumbing and Air."
Visit them at classicplum.com.
At Christie Clinic, our commitment is for the care of our community. That commitment includes keeping care local, where our patients, their families, our clinics, and their hospital of choice are located. Our providers live and work here. It's their passion to care for their families and neighbors. Thank you for choosing Christie Clinic, your hometown provider. When you do, you support the health and well-being of your community.
Make an appointment today at ChristieClinic.com and click on online scheduling. Take care of yourself and put your health first.
Hark, there be a barge of overseas appliances, overpriced tariff-laden goods. Unload quick! We don't have any other choice but to pay the high prices.
Sure we do.
Well, if my eyes don't deceive me, it be Paul Rican from Dick Van Dyke Appliance World. What speak ye about saving money?
At Dick Van Dyke Appliance World, you don't need to worry about overpriced tariff goods. We are stocked with pre-tariff inventory.
You don't need me overpriced appliances from overseas?
Nope, we're good. We even have Speed Queen in stock made right here in the good old Midwest.
You want none of it?
We have 2 warehouses full of pre-tariff inventory and a service department to repair your existing appliance if you want to save even more money instead of buying new.
Well, I'll be. Can I interest ye in me lobster bisque?
Well, it is 9 a.m.
You got to try me lobster bisque.
Okay, all right, I'll get some to go. Take credit card?
With a 5% service charge and sign here for a minimum 30% tip.
Wow. When you buy from us, you get the whole store.
Sarah Champagne's Ben Quattrone on keeping his employees.
It's got to be the place to work. We have to pay the best. We have to treat people the best. Some of the guys wanted to order pizza the other day. Well, we bought 30 Papa Del's pizzas. BMW had the best month they've ever had. They said, can we have a cookout? Saturday, I cooked like 50 ribeye steaks. And they were expecting like cheese, burgers and hot dogs and stuff. Like, if I'm eating steak, you're eating steak. We both eat steak, we both eat hamburger.
Learn more at sarahchampagne.com. When the storm rolls in, where will you go? Don't wait until it's too late. Protect your family with a custom storm shelter from Berg Septic and Storm Shelter Services. At Berg Tanks, their shelters are fiberglass and plate steel safe rooms that can be installed in your garage or exterior, in ground, or on a concrete pad. Built to withstand the toughest storms, giving you a safe, secure place when you need it most. Whether you need a compact unit for a small space or a larger shelter for the whole family, they've got you covered. Their expert team handles everything from excavation to installation so you can have peace of mind before the next storm strikes. Berg Septic also specializes in septic pumping, new system installation, grease trap cleanings, repairs, and maintenance plans to keep your home running smoothly. Call Berg Septic and Storm Shelter Services today at 217-367-8632 or visit them online at bergtanksinc.com. That's BERGtanksinc.com.
Drive in, drive out. Recycling's what Max is all about. You can make some cash and do your share. We make it really simple because we care. It doesn't matter large or small. Our friendly staff will handle it all. Starting it
The best time to save is now at Carpet Weavers during National Karastan Month. Save with rebates up to $1,000 on Karastan carpets and floors. Beautiful carpets, gorgeous luxury vinyl flooring. You simply can't miss out on this sale. Plus, take advantage of instant rebates on all furniture too. Save $250 on every $1,000 you spend. All with free financing for 2 years. Don't miss National Karastan Month, going on now at Carpet Weavers Flooring and Furniture Gallery.
Back on the drive with Sam Piper, ESPN Radio 93.5.
You really haven't hit all your bucket list if you haven't used the restrooms at Wrigley Field and gone into the trough, essentially. I mean, that is just one of those. I remember the first time I ever walked down there, we were sitting on the left field line, and I walked down, and I walk in there, and I'm like, this is interesting.
Yeah,
how you doing, Tom? Good, man. Steve, how you been, man? Great.
The funniest part is when no one tells you. Like, if you haven't talked to somebody, which I don't know why that would come up, and be like, oh, yeah, Wrigley Field, great spot. You should go to the Cubby Bear. And oh, by the way, if you go to the bathroom,
pee in a trough.
It's just a trough.
Yeah.
So then you walk in and you're like, oh, okay.
Steve, do you have to have your elbows all the way out there?
Yeah. It's the no shame place. Like,
it really is.
You can't have shame.
You don't carry on conversations. You don't. There's an etiquette to a restroom, a public restroom, and certainly conversations. And that's hard for me because I'm a talker.
For sure.
Sometimes I'll give the old, geez, what a catch by Edmonds, huh, boys? That was awesome, and like one guy sits down and be like, that was great.
Well, if it's dead silent, you could think it might be a little awkward. So kind of like the break the tension guy. Yeah.
This is terrible, but you can take medication for guys when they get older. Yeah, right. So that was above when I went to the opening day at Busch Stadium. I go into the urinal and I'm like staring at that, reading about it. I'm
really?
Like, oh, great spot for that. Jeez. It was classic. All right, I'll stop. Probably should.
Maybe. Is it where the pee wall? Where's it rank? Where the trough and the pee wall?
I'm so mad that that's gone. The pee wall was the best ever.
Yeah,
There's never going to be anything. It warmed you up on cold days. I mean, it was just the pee wall was just incredible.
I agree.
Kids loved it. Like Cage just coming into his own now with that. He would be like,
oh, perfect.
This is great.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, when you're a little boy, you're just like,
oh, man,
firing things. It's like, come on.
We already got him. You want to go? Don't even go inside. Just go in the backyard. Like,
there's a tree.
Yeah, and he's all about it.
Everybody that's raised a boy understands. So, I mean, the pee wall was just I haven't spoken to Josh Whitman since. Now, technically, I haven't ever been in the same room with Josh since, but he understands. He knows where I'm coming from.
That's right.
The vitriol.
You could shout that at him while he's running by on his Saturday morning.
That's what I should do. If I ever wanted to get up at 5 a.m. and oh, you mean on tailgates?
Tailgate, yeah. He's doing his Saturday morning run club, and you're walking to the tailgate with the beer.
Idea. What we ought to do is I ought to get about 6 guys to, what do you call that, picket? Like, I should get 6 guys to stand right in front of them as they're running and just put, bring the pee wall back. And we just walk in a circle and don't let them pass us. Or they have to go way out in traffic, It's like, what do you think of that, Josh? What do you think of that? Hey, I did get something on the, obviously, this came down yesterday. We haven't talked about it. Illinois' the first football game has been moved to Friday. Brett loves doing that, right? Because he wants that extra time for Duke.
Makes sense.
The next week, and it's on the road even. So they also sent out a thing about tailgating, and It is interesting because you're getting more and more people to these games now, and that brings up more problems, including the P-wall, right? And stuff like that, getting a beer or getting a Coke or
no doubt.
Whatever. I mean, the lines are pretty long. Now, I think last year they did a really good job at Memorial Stadium, and I do give them credit that they always send out to people saying, how can we make this better? And I think probably the biggest thing is if I want to go get a Coke, I miss a quarter of the football game, right? So they've done a good job with that of trying to get more stands and more possibilities. But certainly the tailgating, because they're like, we're going to enforce this. Like if you're tailgating here, you've got to tailgate either in front or behind your parking spot. And you can't take two spots, and this and that. But I don't know. I told the boys, I texted all our tailgate crew, I'm like, here we go. It's going to get interesting because with more fans come more issues, I guess you'd call them. But I don't know. Just everybody have fun,
No doubt. Hopefully it's a fun season.
I would always say to like people that are new to tailgates and they want to they're going to start tailgating. So let's say Kyle, let's say you graduated U of I, you're going to start coming down every Saturday to tailgate. You're going to bring an RV, you're going to bring a van, whatever. Just listen to the people that have been there, right? I mean, if old Joe Bob parks here and has parked there for 30 years, let Joe Bob park
Slash
there.
his tires.
Right. Absolutely. Go crazy on that guy. But that's the only time I've ever seen a little bit of a hiccup in the lots is when somebody will, and usually everybody's fairly nice to say, hey, by the way, that guy has parked there for 30 years and he's coming up right now. Most people just, I didn't know that. And I don't ever approach, I've had that happen where I've had to talk to somebody. I've never approached it like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
they don't know.
Of course. How are you going to know?
So I'm like, hey, just an FYI, blah, blah, blah. And most of us kind of look out for each other. They know where everybody parks and stuff. And most people are cool. But, you might get a Michigan fan in there or a Wisconsin fan that is like, I don't care. I was the first one here. So then I usually whip their butt. And then they leave quick.
There you go.
I start ripping shirts off, and I'm like, I'll start flexing.
And then they're in the last row of... It's a lot
31.
Yep.
On Oak. Is that Oak? All right, I'm done. Yeah, but first game Friday. What do you guys? I hate that.
I have never had a problem with it because of I get the standalone standpoint of it in terms of TV, and I don't have a kid playing Friday Night Football, which one day I might. So I fully understand it.
I do too, and I've never had kids that played football, so that's never been an issue for me. But I could understand. I mean, I would not go to the Illinois game if my son was playing football. I just wouldn't.
Yep. And I think also from the tailgate standpoint, if you've got work on Friday, if you can't fully take advantage of one of your 6 opportunities to tailgate at home you only get a few hours. Exactly. If you're not have the flexibility to take off work or something like that, that is a bummer.
No, I agree. And I am directly affected by that because we always do our show. And whereas our group, they try to get there not at 6 a.m. on that day, maybe, but
6:30.
Well, they'll get there at 6 or at 7 to get the parking spot, but then they usually go to work for a while and then come back. But then that always stops. Yeah, I know. I'm like, you didn't go to work. Yeah, we did. Okay. Okay.
You work at Mary Ann's?
Yeah. But I was there for 4 hours. That said, last year when was it the Kansas game last year was on a Friday night, but it was there. So I'm with you. I wasn't getting robbed of my tailgate opportunity and such, but I loved that Friday game on the road because then I could wake up Saturday and actually take part in the specter of college football game day and all of this, to take advantage of that. And that is kind of cool when you have a bye week and you can kind of just be lazy on a Saturday and just kind of put on college game day, make some breakfast, and just for 4 hours it's on or whatever. And it's pretty cool. They do a good job with that show.
No doubt about it.
Won't be as awkward this year either.
Just the first one, you're going to have Lee Corso's goodbye.
Well, that'll be.
Should be nice.
That'll be, I'm glad they're doing a farewell for him. Good. Yep. Good. That'll be a tearjerker, I'm sure.
It will.
So, but yeah, it just became too awkward.
It was tough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very. All right, what else did we not
Speaking
talk
of tough, if a franchise quarterback didn't want to play for you, even though you had the number 1 pick.
Kyle's saying we have to take a break. Is that a good tease?
Let's tease it. Yep. And
What would you do if your quarterback hated you?
So we don't have to talk about it. No, we'll get to it. Coming up next is The Drive.
At Pards in Urbana, the boots just keep on coming. They're known for their huge collection of men's cowboy boots, women's cowgirl boots, kids' boots, and even shoes. If you're searching for top footwear brands, look no further than Pards. They carry a wide variety, including Ariat, Dan Post, Smoky Mountain, Roper, Double H, and more. And if socks or accessories are what you need, they've got all your high-quality essentials. Since 1968, Pards has been serving their customers with high-quality merchandise. And if you haven't been to Pards in a while, a lot has changed. Go check them out just off University Avenue in Urbana.
At ABC Heating and Air, it's our promise to help you always be comfortable. Do you need rescued because you're burning hot? Do you need rescued because your air is shot? Call ABC Heating and Air at 352-5400 and let us rescue you from the heat. ABC Heating and Air, 352-5400. Can't you see you need to call me at ABC? Call ABC Heating and Air. That's ABC Heating and Air, 352-5400.
Urbana's Market at the Square has been cultivating a vibrant scene in CU since 1979. Get to know your farmers bringing locally harvested honey, crafts, jewelry, art, fresh cut flowers, plus produce including fresh leafy greens and root vegetables, fresh baked treats, and a wide selection of proteins. Going on now, every Saturday, 7 a.m. till noon, rain or shine at Illinois and Vine, it's Urbana Market at the Square. Find Urbana Market on Facebook or urbanamarket.org.
When you make the right decision, it feels good, like picking the perfect accent rug or choosing a good night's sleep over an all-night crime show binge. It feels really good to make the right insurance decision, too. That's why State Farm agent Kurt Lenschow is right here in Champaign-Urbana to help you select the right protection at the right price. Kurt will make sure you understand your State Farm coverages so you'll know what to expect if the unexpected happens. Just call him when you want the real deal. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
This is XYZ Insurance. How can I help?
I have a question about my home policy.
Okay, question about phone policy.
Home policy.
Okay, gnome policy.
HOME, home.
Technology is great, but sometimes it's better to talk with a real person. With Erie Insurance, you have a caring, independent agent who's with you from beginning to end.
We don't have any HOMEs on record.
Your Erie agent in Champaign is Thomas & Ellers Insurance. Go to erieinsurance.com for company licensure and product details.
You've set your financial goals. One kid plans to go Big Ten, the other Ivy. Your bucket list includes seaside sunrises and sunsets on the slopes, or perhaps a second home away from it all. Busey Bank can help develop the right investment strategy to take charge of the years ahead. Busey Bank, building business, growing wealth since 1868. Proud to be the official bank of the Fighting Illini. Member FDIC.
Finishing up on the drive with Sam Piper, ESPN Radio 93.5. Wade says on the Max Twin City Recycling text line, did they send the JV squad to this PGA tournament? If you're watching ESPN right now and you just get a glimpse of the leaderboard, you see a lot of last names that you're not super familiar with.
It is kind of funny.
Davis at -6.
Is that Cam, I would assume?
You said Cameron Davis, yep.
I don't know who Gerard,
Donald, Fox, Smalley.
Is that Luke Donald?
Jaeger.
Like, is he that's Luke Donald?
Yep.
Northwestern grad, by the way.
Aaron Donald, apparently.
Yeah, right. Some dude named Fox. Remember Rick Fox from the North Carolina Tar Heels and the Lakers?
I remember
Didn't
him
he become
from
an
that.
actor?
Yeah, I think he was.
he did.
Yep.
He was a good-looking
Good
dude.
call. He was.
And then Mike Small is kind of just said, well, I'll play in it, but you got to call me Smalley. So Smalley's at 4 under.
It's impressive.
Congrats to that Illinois team, by the way.
Absolutely.
That was so
yeah, you got
fun.
to make your way out there yesterday.
I did. I mentioned earlier in the show I parked at Riggs. It was packed. I could not get another parking spot. So it was great to watch those guys. The most impressive thing is, I think that's number 9, is that par 3 in, which used to be number 3. I was standing right next to the tee box when these kids were hitting, right? On a par 3. The force and the sound of the ball, Derek, with which they hit was just like, holy smoke. Sounded like a jet taking off. You know, they're probably hitting wedges, and it's just like, and you're like, wow, I can't even. That was terrible. I'm usually pretty good at the NASCAR stuff, but not that. But anyway, yeah, and then just the patience of these guys. Like, I actually went and sat on 11, which 11 is the hole on Windsor. When you drive by, there's houses, like the entrance to Atkins, houses, and then there's that hole there with some water. And so I went there because I was wanting to see like a 150 in kind of approach. I think that's cool. And like 3 straight Illini guys were in trouble off the tee. So they kind of struggled, but 2 of them saved par. And it makes you really appreciate. Like, I don't even understand when they're out there eagling and birding, right? For people like us, it's like, but for them to just save par when they were in the rough off the tee, and it's like, wait, I was in that same rough and took an 8.
Yeah, right.
Why did you get a 4?
Exactly.
But I mean, to me, that just brings it in of that's how good these kids are.
No doubt.
And it was fun. I did see Coach Small real quick. I ran into Ryan Peden.
Did you?
And he said to say hi to you.
Ryan's awesome.
He had one of his new coaches was out there with him. Of course, Illinois State was in the tournament, but he came walking up. I was like, Coach Peden, Lante. And he goes, yeah.
He's a great guy.
He is a great guy. He was asking about you and the kids. I said, 2 kids now and this and that. And so we chatted a little bit. I told him, I said, maybe this summer we'll get you on just to kind of talk like the current whatever of college basketball. He goes, oh, I'd love that. I'd love to come on with you guys. So maybe we'll get Ryan on.
That'd be fun.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be fun, no doubt.
That's a great text, though, by Wade. All right, so Caleb Williams is going to be a book coming out.
Yes, Seth Wickersham, who...
What a name.
Yeah, it is. ESPN, and writing a book called American Kings, a biography of the quarterback. And here's the opening line. He teased this ESPN article. Of course, he's trying to sell a book.
Sure.
But at the same time, this is not something that is coming out of left field.
Right.
The idea, especially Carl Williams, Caleb's dad, of being outspoken and having some pushback about Chicago as an ideal landing spot. So here's how it goes. Quarterback Caleb Williams was so concerned about being picked by the Chicago Bears in 2024 that he and his family weighed circumventing the entire NFL draft, consulting with lawyers to figure out a way around the league's collective bargaining agreement while considering signing with the United Football League.
Doug Flutie did that.
Details from a forthcoming book reveal.
Wow.
And the quote from Carl Williams is, Chicago is the place quarterbacks go to die. All right.
Hey, tell your dad he doesn't get free tickets anymore on the ticket list.
No doubt.
Wow. That's just a bad look. I mean, it's just a bad look. I'm sorry. How do I go about this? If Andrew Tay was ever in a position to be drafted in Major League Baseball, do you think I would give one crap as to what team drafted him? Mm-hmm. Now, is it different if Andrew is going to be one of the top or the top pick and it's Oakland? Well, they're not even going to be. They're in Vegas now, right? I'd probably enjoy that. If it was going to be Toronto, let's say, and you don't want to be in Canada or whatever, it's like I still would not make a fool of myself as a father or a parent and just dog the heck out of a city, and now you've got to lay in it, right? I mean, now how do you react as
you're
a Bears
that
fan?
meddling father who is come out, and there were some things, I know that Caleb is kind of defended him in terms of some of the stuff that was reported or spoken about wasn't maybe true in terms of wanting like an ownership stake wherever he's going to go in that team and this type of this and that and the other. But I think there's 2 kind of reactions to me. Number one, I'm kind of teetering on, like, it reminds me of the Aaron Rodgers, I own you. I still own you.
Yep.
And there's a point where I just accepted it. Like, you're right. You're right. I'm supposed to hate this, and I do at my core, but yet I can't be that mad because you're right.
You're right, Aaron.
Chicago has been a place where quarterbacks have gone to die.
Yeah.
I was pretty attached to Justin Fields, and I think that this situation did ruin him to some extent. At the same time, what do you think's going to happen at the top of the draft? Oh, okay. You'd much rather go to the Giants. All right. No, you want to go to Cleveland. You want to go to the Titans.
Just where do you want to go, Caleb?
All these places that are going to pick number one are going to stink. You want to go to Carolina?
Yeah.
Have fun. And that other part of it, too, we didn't leave enough time for this.
I know. I'm sorry. You guys.
If you're as good as everybody said you were
Yeah.
coming into the draft, if you were this generational talent, it doesn't matter where you go.
Right.
You think the Colts were thought to be some awesome place for Peyton Manning to go?
Exactly. No.
The Patriots weren't the Patriots before that. So
then again, it's happened. John Elway was an absolute.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
So was, who's the other?
Eli Manning.
Eli Manning. That's exactly right. And I always said I can't stand the fact that both of those guys won 2 Super Bowls. I wish they never would have won a Super Bowl ever, because it's like you were just this little crybaby coming into the league, and I don't know.
So then it stinks that this is coming out. Great access for Wickersham, but he quotes Caleb Williams telling his dad, "I need to go to the Vikings."